Good afternoon and good morning to all our participants from Japan, Europe, or elsewhere. Welcome to the NRW Global Business online seminar on the occasion of the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. Today's topic is 5G and the digital transformation in industry, opportunities for cooperation in Germany and NRW. My name is Georg Löhr. I'm the representative of NRW Global Business Japan here in Tokyo, and it is my distinct pleasure and honor to take you through today's event as your host and moderator, and first of all, of course, to welcome our guest speakers today. For this purpose, I would like to welcome Mr. Nils König and Ms. Yancheng Gong. Ms. Gong is joining us today from Düsseldorf, actually, although she works in Wuppertal, and Mr. König is joining us from Aachen, where we see him in the machine room, so to say. Now, we look forward to an interesting presentation from each of you, and hope that we have time for a Q&A session as well as a discussion on this topic of 5G. Very timely in the sense that this week we saw in Barcelona the Mobile World Congress, and NRW, North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany's leading industrial region, was also present on this Congress. Now, let me start out with a short overview of our program for today and guide you through the agenda. Beginning after greetings and introduction by myself, Georg Löhr, we shall have the presentation of Ms. Yancheng Gong, research fellow at the Competence Center 5G NRW in Wuppertal in North Rhine-Westphalia. And her topic is North Rhine-Westphalia as a 5G pioneer region. We're very fortunate to have Ms. Gong here today, since the 5G NRW Competence Center was obviously quite busy this week at the Mobile World Congress. Thank you so much for taking time out to speak to us here. After a Q&A session, we will move on to a presentation by Mr. Nils König, Head and Chief Engineer, Production Metrology, Coordinator of the 5G Industry Campus Europe at the Fraunhofer Institute for Production Technology, IPT, in Aachen. Many of you will already be familiar with Mr. König. Thank you once again for joining us today with a presentation and update on your activities in Aachen. This presentation will then be followed by a Q&A session addressing questions put forward to Mr. König, but followed then by a discussion among us, and hopefully also with questions from the audience. Today we have a bit of a special feature in the sense that we have a poll between the presentations, before the presentation, after Ms. Gong's presentation, and after Mr. König's presentation, to involve the audience a bit and get a feel for how you, audience, view the topic of 5G for this purpose. Now, as regards Zoom, I think you're all familiar with the Zoom functions, but here let me outline the functions you have today. First of all, we're very pleased to have the interpreters support us, so please use the interpretation function, Japanese and English, and please put forward your questions through the Q&A function, and in the open discussion at the end of the event, please raise your hand if you wish to say something and participate. Please feel free also to show yourself and join us later. We will try to make it technically possible. Now, as always, there could be technical glitches and issues such as failing Wi-Fi or other types of catastrophes, but please rest assured that all technical fault is due to our lack of preparation in case it should happen. Now, we will most likely lock the event after 3:45 Japanese time, so please be aware that in case you leave us, it might be difficult to rejoin later. For our Japanese audience, we have also the explanation here in Japanese. Thank you. Now, for the discussion, it's always helpful if we have your name or your company name, and you make it a bit easier for me and our guests if you want to put your name or your company name in alphabet letters. Thank you. Now, it's been nearly or more than a year since we started this web talk series. It was actually in April last year, and we have in the meantime quite a good following, as well as try to keep up the pace of having monthly web events. The last larger web event we had last month on the 16th of June, the NRW Japan Innovation Summit with our economics minister, Professor Andreas Pinkwart, which was very well received. Thank you for all of those who also attended this event. Now, everything would not be possible without the great support and engagement of our team. You see here our colleague Ms. Yagihashi, our colleague Mr. Sugizaki, and our colleague Mr. Kuski, and myself today, your host. Our mission is unchanged: to create success stories, to help Japanese companies in Germany or in Europe, or on the other hand, help NRW companies in their market entry activities here in Japan. We do this through business promotion and consulting, research on market entry, FDI, and trade promotion in Germany and Japan. We provide information and support for establishment of representative offices, subsidiaries, R&D centers, etc. We are happy to introduce you to universities, R&D centers, government, and other stakeholders. We host seminars, fireplace talks, and other virtual and on-site events. And obviously, we would be very happy to also have some on-site events in the latter part of the year. Of course, this will depend on how the corona pandemic evolves. We also will participate in trade fairs this year, perhaps also have our own virtual trade fair, other scientific events and industrial exhibitions. And as you know, our special focus is on innovation, innovative technologies, startups, scale-ups, and growth markets. So, how we approach these topics is already probably known, but we focus on current topics, and one of these current topics is obviously 5G. We have done a bit of research on the 5G topic, and we're very grateful that 5G NRW and Fraunhofer IPT are cooperating closely on this topic with us. As I mentioned, we bring together the key stakeholders for enabling them to create their success stories. Now, the situation as regards Corona looks quite positive in Germany right now. At least you can see that there is no red or yellow area in North Rhine-Westphalia right now. And from the graph on the right-hand side, you see that the number of infections in North Rhine-Westphalia has actually gone down tremendously thanks to the progress in vaccination as well as the lockdown measures we have had in the past. For Germany as a whole, yes, the picture has improved dramatically. You will see a little bit still here and there, but as in Japan, we are of course aware of the potential threat from fourth wave, and the Delta mutant is not to be taken easily. Vaccination is the key word also in Germany, and you see North Rhine-Westphalia is on a very good path here. In the second place for fully vaccinated persons, meaning 2 vaccinations for most of us, we are at 38.4% for North Rhine-Westphalia, but you see that also for most other German states we are on track, and we will move forward on this, continue to move forward on this. Now, I don't think I have to go into too much detail and tell you why we should have you in North Rhine-Westphalia, but let me just recount the few factors which we think are important. It remains to be a very dynamic business location. We are the industrial heartland of Germany, and we are home to a lot of world market leaders, as well as being an important gateway for Europe, so to say, at the heart of Europe. The research and development capabilities in our state are excellent. We mentioned this, or you may have witnessed this during the recent Innovation Summit with our minister, where there was the new Daikin chemical research facility highlighted in Dortmund. So, where there's a lot of universities and research and developments, there's also a lot of talent, and on top of that, you have the best logistics available in Germany, in North Rhine-Westphalia, and we are also on track for the digital transformation. I won't talk about this topic of soccer, which sometimes I mention these days, as you will be aware that Germany was not so successful in the European Soccer Cup. Sorry, I didn't want to talk about this, but it just came out. But North Rhine-Westphalia will be active in the Bundesliga in the next season with, I think, 6 teams, so you can enjoy soccer during the next season. Economically, I think we're doing relatively well in the corona pandemic, despite, of course, a large loss of economic growth in the past year, but the recovery is on a very good track, and I think we will also see more Japanese engagement of foreign companies investing in North Rhine-Westphalia this year. We heard yesterday in a conference that already we are on good track with many foreign companies doing new investments in North Rhine-Westphalia. The Japanese names, most of them we cannot show here, but here's a selection, and we welcome, of course, new players, but we also see a lot of companies expanding their engagement in North Rhine-Westphalia. The university landscape I already mentioned, and today we have representatives from two universities, one RWTH Aachen and one Bergische Universität Düsseldorf, Wuppertal, sorry. And Wuppertal is a highlight also for the 5G NRW Competence Center, and working together with other universities and institutions in the state, as you can see here, but Ms. Gong will tell us more about this later. As well as we will hear about the 5G Industry Campus Europe, Mr. König will also talk about new Japanese partners which have been won for this excellent activity here in Aachen. Now, 5G is in everyone's mind, or on everyone's mind, and business potential is there, quite substantial, but we are also looking at 6G at this point, only in terms of research and development. But the good news was that the German federal government plans to allocate 250 million euro to set up 4 6G research hubs, and Aachen is also scheduled to be one of them. So, but now let's move on to our topic of 5G. And as promised, first of all, we would like to ask you a few questions. There are 3 questions in this first poll, and the 3 questions are: how would you rate the general level of digitalization in your company? Then, where is your collected data analyzed so far? This is a multiple choice question. How important is access to 5G for determining your company's location or best location? So let's see what we get in terms of answers. And I invite you to participate in the poll. So please click. Yes. We still have quite a few to go. We have nearly 90 participants as guests today. In total, we are nearly 100 participants, and the answers are coming in. Excellent. And while you're doing this, I would like to confirm and inform you that while you're participating in this poll, we already, before the event, sent out a survey about 5G, which we prepared together with our colleague Sophia Brachtendorf, as well as Mr. König's colleague, Ms. Sarah Schmidt of Fraunhofer IPT in Aachen. And So we are seeing a lot of feedback there. We are also looking at then after we have received all these answers from you, we would like to also send you the results of this survey. That's why we very much appreciate that you participate, and I think the time is now has now been sufficient to answer the question. We have a good, I will give you a few seconds more, and then we shall move on to Ms. Gong's presentation. So the 2 minutes are over. Thank you so much. Let me then end the query. Thank you. Now, let's see what you have answered. How would you rate the general level of digitalization in your company? Well, it looks like the majority of you, more than or about 68%, rated as good or reasonably good. About 28% rated as bad, and well, 4% rated as very good. Then, where is your collected data analyzed so far? Well, here we see that most of you work on local servers. This is an interesting feedback, but already 1/4 of the answers is that you work on cloud systems. And I think, and there is also an important point that you're not yet evaluating this, also about 28%. In any case, I think this points to certain observation as to regard of security and so on. So how important is now access to 5G for determining your company's location? Location meaning the site where you do business. And here we see that about 47%, nearly half of you think it's important. Then 32% see that it's not really that important, and 15% say it's reasonably important. So a majority thinks that is actually important. So yeah, we here you go. Here are the results, and but since I have already explained them, I think we shall now move on to the presentation. Thank you. So welcome once again, Yacheng Gong from the Competence Center NRW 5.5G. Ms. Gong's profile here: since July 2020, she's a research fellow at the Competence Center, which is located at the University of Wuppertal, and previously she worked as executive assistant to the CEO and as quality manager at the AERI Group in Düsseldorf, and she has studied previously took her master at the University of Heidelberg, wonderful university, and knows, of course, a lot about intercultural communications, very important topic for all of us. In Japanese, here we also have the CV, and so now let me ask Ms. Gong to share her presentation with us. Once again, welcome. Nice to see you here today, and the floor is yours. So could you kindly share the presentation with us?
Thank you, Mr. Liu. Yeah, good morning or good afternoon to our audience from all around the world. I also want to welcome you from my side to our online seminar. I want to give many thanks to Mr. Liu for the great introduction. My name is Yacheng Gong. I work as a research fellow at Competence Center 5G NRW at Bergische University Wuppertal in Germany. So it's very great to have you here. Today, I would like to give you a short overview of the 5G state of the art in our state, North Rhine-Westphalia. And first of all, I will talk about which use cases can only be reached with 5G features and what 5G activities are already taking place right now in our state, but also which role we are playing at Competence Center 5G NRW. To start off, I would like to show you a short film we filmed by the end of last year for our event Rocket Session. And this video aims to give an overview of what's happening in North Rhine-Westphalia right now and what kind of exciting applications and use cases are taking place. So enjoy.
Victor's infinite possibilities. 5G is the key technology for the digital transformation. North Rhine-Westphalia is not only seeking to pioneer the introduction of fifth-generation mobile communication, but also wants to be Europe's leading pilot region for the technology, and thus an attractive business location for the digital future. The Competence Center 5G NRW and its 4 partners are driving the introduction of the new technology in a consortium led by the University of Wuppertal. North Rhine-Westphalia already boasts outstanding examples of and innovative business models for 5G research and applications. The Industry Campus Europe in Aachen is Europe's largest industrial 5G research site. There, researchers are exploring a range of use cases, such as the monitoring and control of complex manufacturing processes with 5G sensor technology. A consortium led by the Fraunhofer Institute of Production Technology, the FIR Institute for Industrial Management at RWTH Aachen University, and Ericsson has set up a campus network extending over 1 square kilometer at the Melaten campus. Its objective is to feed research findings straight into real-world industrial applications. That is why the network at the 5G Industry Campus Europe uses the industry spectrum of 3.7 to 3.8 gigahertz. The unique infrastructure enables partners in industry to test individual 5G applications live and to work with researchers to develop those applications further, which is the goal of the NRW state government's successful 5G strategy, mobility and connected mobility. Another key area of application for the new mobile technology. The Aldenhoven Testing Center is already investigating the driving systems of the future. Vodafone operates its 5G mobility lab for business at the site. 5G is opening up whole new applications for car-to-car and car-to-infrastructure communication. The connected and autonomous transport of the future can be simulated and developed at the site in realistic network conditions, in a unique test environment in Europe. Fully and semi-autonomous mobility are also one of the research focuses in Dortmund. The German Rescue Robotics Center trials and researches the use of reliable communication solutions in crisis situations. The aim is to make firefighting and rescue missions safer and more effective by using 5G and mobile robotics systems. To control those systems and evaluate the data collected in real time, the team from the Fire Department and Technical University of Dortmund is testing a mobile autonomous 5G communication system. This local 5G network enables the secure transmission of high-resolution video data on the ground. Immersive virtual reality images allow the emergency services to make a robust assessment of dangerous situations. Creating even more applications for the key technology 5G is what the new 5G Co-Creation Lab in Cologne is all about. The project, run by Telekom, Cologne University of Applied Sciences, and a number of other partners, is aimed at students and entrepreneurs. This is a creative environment for innovative ideas, digital products, and new business models. Students work closely with application partners such as the FC Cologne Football Club in a creative lab with 5G standalone network technology. 5G, 2 characters, a host of partners. Strategic networking of all stakeholders is central to the success of the 5G mobile communication strategy in NRW. Together, we can make North Rhine-Westphalia the flagship 5G region in Europe.
Great. So I hope you have gotten the first impression on the 5G activities in our state. And to realize those applications, the most important requirement is the 5G network rollout and coverage. So how does that look like in our state and in Germany? Europe follows the goal to fully realize the 5G rollout by the end of 2025. And that's also the goal European countries, including Germany, are following. So you can see from this graphic, which was part of a study from Umlaut, that Germany is moving forward with the 5G rollout pretty well during the past 1 year. And if you take a closer look at this part, you can see that the rollout is going especially well in our state, North Rhine-Westphalia. Just so that you can understand the context better, here's some background information about the state. Here is where our state locates. And Mr. Löhr already introduced something about it. It has a population of 17.9 million, which is between 1/4 and 1/5 of the total population in Germany. And we also have over 700,000 EMS. So it's definitely the state with the most population in Germany. It's economically very strong, which you can see from the GDP. And it also has a very strong industrial and ICT landscape. According to the information from our state government, by the end of last year, we have an LTE cover rate of over 98.7%. As for 5G, I put a graphic from one of the major MNOs here, Telecom, to demonstrate the coverage here. And the three major MNOs are all moving forward with a network rollout. Telecom has reached 12 million people in our state by the end of this February. And according to the information, June covered more than 66 million people in Germany with over 1,800 antennas on the 3.6 gigahertz frequency. Vodafone has successfully set up over 4.7 million gigabyte connections in our state by the end of last year. And they have reached over 20 million people in Germany with 1,000 antennas on 3.5 gigahertz frequency. As for Telefonica, they indicated their goal to reach 30% of the population in Germany by 2021. So once the network is here, what to expect? What use cases are enabled because of the 5G features? Since 5G isn't brand new anymore, I wouldn't go through the basics of this 5G triangle on the left side. Instead, I will just go over what's already happening in our state. You can see on this graphic that what possible applications are associated with EMBB, MMTC, and URLC. At the top, you will find the applications for which particularly high data rates or bandwidth are required, or which require the transmission of data from very fast-moving vehicles, like 3D or 4K video streams on the go and big data cloud. And here are the applications in which the number of transmitting devices per area is particularly large, and therefore the requirements for the capacity of a radio cell are particularly high. Internet of Things, energy and supply, smart home, but also smart city scenarios are examples of this. And for URLC, the keyword is definitely real-time communications, autonomous vehicles or robots, AR, VR in healthcare, or drone control. Those are a few examples of those. So what's already happening in our state? We have on the left side, ODA 5G. This project aims to develop and evaluate a technical infrastructure with the help of a 5G campus network and edge cloud computing to realize e-assessments on the learner's own devices, even for very large learning groups. And this requires the big data cloud. We also have N5GH. This project aims to solve energy-related problems, one of the very important subjects in smart city applications. We also have 5G LAN project. 5G technology is mapped onto existing local area network architectures in this project. And I also brought an example of a few innovation centers. This one is the innovation center powered by Accenture. They use modern data transmission technologies like Wi-Fi 6 to bring companies closer to realizing their smart factory. 5G Smart project focuses on connecting cars, traffic lights, parking guidance system, public transportation, car or bike sharing services with each other. We have the top Plan and Play project. This one aims to build reliable ad hoc 5G campus networks for the contemporary use, like for huge events. Speaking of which, back in November that last year, Telecom Germany has already worked with a tech and media company on a pilot project to live stream a game with Bonner SC with 5G. Later on December, Sky Germany and O2 worked together and live streamed the handball game with 5G. And then we have 5G COMET. This project creates an infrastructure which works from end to end, aka from the machine to the factory cloud, which also meets the industrial requirements in terms of reliability, availability, and real-time capability, something that requires both URLLC and eMBB. And then we have Giga for Health. They want to build the first 5G medical campus and a university clinic in Europe, where people and devices are connected to make real-time communication and thus saving lives possible. The project of 5G Oriala is also a project in healthcare and rescue. And then we have Idaho Testing Center. You already saw that in the video. It's about a connected driving. So they work with Vodafone together, and they have this open circular test field called the 5G Mobility Lab. It's definitely interesting for vehicle manufacturers and suppliers, service providers, as well as universities and research institutions who are interested in connected driving. Last but not the least, we have Car-to-Bike 5G. This project aims to increase the safety for cyclists through vehicle-to-bike communication with 5G. So those are just a few examples of what's going on in our state. One of the projects I just mentioned are from the same 5G NRW funded program, which is an initiative of the Ministry of Economic Affairs, Innovation, Digitalization, and Energy of our state. So this funded program is funded with 90 million euros, and now both rounds are already completed. On this slide, you can see a geographical representation of the 13 projects from the first round that were recommended. And if you want to know more about it, I would definitely recommend you to take a look at our website, especially the subpage best practices, where we cover all of those projects. And just yesterday, the ministry has issued a press release on the jury's recommendation from the second round of the competition. So altogether, there were 24 project ideas that were recommended. Let's take a look and see what verticals they cover and what's new compared to the first round. I was very inspired from the 5G Open Innovation Platform that was set out by Analysis Mason in a recent study. So this graphic with all the categories are adapted from it. As you can see, we have 8 project ideas from the area of smart production and logistics with Industry 4.0 in focus. And we also have Smart Rural with 2 project ideas in agriculture. 6 project ideas fall into the category Smart Urban with construction, mining, and mobility topics. And you can also find 6 project ideas in Smart Public Services where healthcare, education, or citizen-oriented topics are researched. Last but not the least, there are also 2 projects with very strong technical perspectives and will focus on the 5G network itself. So compared to the first round, we have some new topics here. For example, 2 agriculture ideas. Construction in smart urban is also a great addition. And other than that, this project, this last one, this idea aims to address the sustainability in retail, which is also new. I personally find Expo 5G very interesting because it's a very project idea in the funded program that will look into the health effects of 5G, which is definitely a research area that has a lot of attention, but require more valid evidence. I also find the 2 education projects here very interesting, which support the vocational education and learning the sign language. I'm very looking forward to seeing all the updates about those project ideas. So what do we have in our innovation network? We have over 3,000 actors who are following us actively. 21 up-to-date projects are connected on our website, as well as 11 test and demonstration centers. We also became aware of the 21 companies and organizations who got the campus network licenses, and all of that information, all the contact information are represented on our website on our interactive map. Following up, I would like to show you our 5G ecosystem. So a huge advantage of our state is that there are a lot of big names sitting in North Rhine-Westphalia. We have the MNOs, Vodafone and Telecom. We have various connectivity and technology providers such as Huawei, ZTE, Nokia, Ericsson, and we have many research institutions like different Fraunhofer institutes and many universities working on 5G. Here are some innovation test and demonstration centers. Some of them are active in our network, and I already briefly introduced the Eindhoven Testing Center and the Accenture Innovation Center. For example, there's also this demonstration factory Siegen, which implements real use cases from production and production management, in which industrial 5G applications can be researched. We also have 5G Industry Campus Europe as the first European 5G research network, and it aims to research new areas of applications of the 5G mobile radio standard in production and to test it in a practical setting in an industrial environment. But Dr. König will tell you more about that later, which I'm very looking forward to. The Smart Factory OWL has the state-of-the-art 5G hardware and is an ideal test area for applications in 5G networks for researchers, students, and SMEs. I also want to mention that our partners from Aachen and from Dortmund also have their own demonstration laboratories where companies can test the applications and network solutions. But these are only the tip of the iceberg. During the technology monitoring, we also became aware of the companies and organizations with their own campus network licenses in North Rhine-Westphalia. So for those who are not from Germany, maybe some background information first. So 5G offers this opportunity for companies to have self-contained networks where internal applications can be implemented. And they enable companies to digitally network all components of the production facility in real time and in a local and protected area of use. Our Federal Network Agency opened up specific frequency ranges for companies and organizations to apply for their private use. For example, they first provide the frequency range from 3.7 to 3.8 gigahertz for local networks. And by the end of last November, we already got 93 applications and 88 have been issued. By this May, a total of 126 applications have been submitted and 123 have been issued. Recently, the frequency in the 24,250 to 27,500 megahertz range are open for applications, and there are already 5 applications which have been issued. One of them belongs to our partner in Dortmund. So here is a geographical demonstration of the companies and organizations with their own private campus network licenses. As you can see, we have different stakeholders here. We have technology providers, service providers, consulting companies, research institutions, and many, many verticals. So please note that the marked locations are not where the campus networks are, but where the headquarters sit. In my presentation, I already showed you some glimpses of our work. And Mr. Lühr already mentioned the goal of a 5G North Rhine-Westphalia to develop into the 5G lead market in Germany and Europe. And our competence center 5G NRW was established in this context with different functions as a funded project from the Ministry of Economic Affairs, Innovation, Digitalization, and Energy of the state. So our work covers technology monitoring, experimental platform, accompanying research for the 2 rounds of the funded program, and central to this are the broad 5G knowledge transfer and the continued expansion of our network. The project consists of 4 partners: Jägersche University Wuppertal, Institute SECOM, University of Duisburg-Essen, Chair for Software Engineering, Research Institute for Rationalization at RWTH Aachen University, and Technical University of Dortmund, Chairs for Communication Networks. With that information, I have reached the end of my presentation. I want to thank you for this great opportunity and your attention here. Here you can find the contact information of our CEO, Monika Gatzke, and also my contact information. So if you're interested in keeping up to date with 5G activities in North Rhine-Westphalia, or if you have any questions afterwards, just feel free to contact us. So now I will give the stage back to Mr. Liu. Thank you.
Well, Ms. Gong, thank you so much for this really detailed insight and presentation of all the opportunities and activities that are going on in North Rhine-Westphalia as with regards to 5G. I think this is very impressive, and it shows how many connections there are, how the opportunities are for the equipment companies, as well as the users, as well as the research institutions, and so on. So I think this was an excellent presentation. We here at NRW.Global Business Japan, we have not heard in this detail about 5G activities in NRW up to now, so we're very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you. And we'll come back to the Q&A a bit later. So in the second part of the poll, we would like to put forward the following three questions. First of all, please rate the importance of fast data transmission for your processes. So this is the first question. The second question is, how important is high data transmission in your processes? Third question is, how would you rate the importance of high device density in your production? I understand that, for instance, at the Fraunhofer IPT site, there are lots of machines at the production site, so a very high density. How important would you see that? So please join us in the poll. And also, once you've answered the poll, come back and maybe ask a question to Ms. Gong. Yes, the answers are coming in very nicely. Excellent. And maybe on the side, I would like to ask a question to Ms. Gong, since we have Mr. König here on the line also. How do you practically cooperate with the, for instance, with the 5G Industry Campus Europe? Is your main activity actually holding a lot of events, networking events, and so on, or what is your what takes up most of your time? Ms. Gong.
Thank you for the question. So here at Competence Center, we have different tasks or different orientations. And what you mentioned earlier is definitely one of them. So the network and the innovation network, and part of the knowledge transfer is that where we try to hold information events just to transfer knowledge to our public and our audience. Mm-hmm. But there are also other missions we have here, for example, technology monitoring. So we really keep an eye on all the 5G activities in North Rhine-Westphalia, and we keep an eye on what events are going on, what 5G tests are going on, and also the test and demonstration centers. That's also part of the activities we monitor here, and also the activities in the area of 5G campus networks, and what companies and organizations are already testing in their networks. So that's all part of our work. And also we accompany the 2 rounds of the 5G NRW funded program. That's also part of our mission. And other than that, we have 3 other technical partners, as you saw on my slide earlier. They support the technical side, especially in the area of experimental platform.
Okay. Is it very difficult to become a member of your organization, or what are the hurdles we have to take to become a member of 5G NRW? And do you also have foreign companies or foreign research institutions as members?
Great question. So to become a member is not hard at all. I can send you the link later that you can just register on our website to be a part of our network. And you also have the opportunity to subscribe for our newsletter, which we send out every 2 weeks with all the up-to-date 5G information and events we have going on. But I would point out the language barrier, because most of our newsletter are sent in German, actually. And back to your question, if we have foreign companies in our network, well, yes, we do. We are in a very intense contact with several foreign stakeholders, or to say stakeholders out of North Rhine-Westphalia. But in our innovation network, in this area of institutions, which was presented on our website, we only have companies and organizations in North Rhine-Westphalia right now. But we do keep contact with all the other stakeholders.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyhow, there are lots of foreign companies based in North Rhine-Westphalia. So for Japanese companies with subsidiaries in North Rhine-Westphalia, it would not be a difficulty to join your network and to join your events. I assume that you already have some of these companies in your network. Yeah,
definitely. I would recommend everyone to take a look at the website and see our offers, and also welcome if anyone wants to join as a new member.
Okay, excellent. So we're getting good feedback on the poll right now. We have a little bit less than half of the participants have answered the poll. The question, I will maybe give you a bit more time to answer. Let me see, we do not have any questions in the Q&A box as far as I can see. And Mr. König, do you have any question to Mrs. Gong?
Well, I do not have a question. I have a recommendation. So everybody should really register to the newsletter. It's to my knowledge, it's the best source of information. So you get a weekly update. So it's very comprehensive, but compact at the same time. So it's really valuable information about the new developments in 5G. Start of new projects and so on. So it's a really great source of information.
Yeah, I think so too. And of course, we also translate some of the information from the newsletter into Japanese and send it out in our Japanese newsletter. So yes, I fully agree that this is a very valuable resource of information. So now let me show you the results of the survey. As regards the importance of fast under 10 milliseconds data transmission for your processes, yes, 34% regard it as important. Then, well, 23% each regard it as not really that important or reasonably important, and the rest is then divided on whether it's not at all important or very important. Yeah. So, well, definitely the issue of fast transmission for the processes is important for more than half of the respondents. Now, how important is high data transmission in your processes? Here again, we have a similar picture with, well, 31% saying it's not really that important, but for 29% or in total more than 50% or even 60% saying that it's either important, reasonably important, or very important. Yes. Then here we have a clear answer as what is this? Yeah, many people were not clear on this since it was a multiple response. Many people, there were 31 people who did not give a response to that. How would you rate the importance of high device density in your production? Here again, oh, this is a relatively high percentage. 43% think it is important. Then 17% yes, quite important, and then very important 6%. So this is actually, I think, quite a nice majority of over 65 or 66% saying the high device density is an issue, is an important issue. Okay, well, I think since we are now in a good time, or actually a bit behind time, I will ask, thank you once again to Ms. Gong. We will come back to you later, and I would like to proceed now to the presentation of Mr. Niels König. Welcome back. We are happy to see you again. We have, since your last presentation, I think it was in October last year, we have met on several occasions, of course, always online, but we have had several meetings also with Japanese companies, and it shows their strong interest in the 5G industry campus in Europe. Here is your profile, and of course you're an expert in this area, more than 13 years of research in production metrology and heading the Department of Production Metrology as head of, and 4 years as head of fiber optics at Fraunhofer IPT. Yeah, so Mr. König, thank you for joining us again from Aachen this time, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, okay, so you should be able to see my screen.
Yes, very clear.
Okay, so now without the gray boxes, they should disappear now.
Slowly, yes, disappear.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so yeah, good afternoon to the Japanese participants, and good morning to the European participants. Yeah, I have the pleasure to show you some examples of how 5G actually contributes to production. And I also brought some best practice, or some very concrete example of how 5G helps in today's production. And furthermore, I'd like to also highlight the ICNAP, which is the International Center for Network Adaptive Production, which is our community. So it's a little bit different than the Competence Center 5G NRW, because it's really on digitization in production. So it's more than 5G, but also it's about concrete implementations. Okay. So first of all, some remarks why 5G is actually important for production. So of course, we know 5G contributes to a lot of domains, or as called verticals. But production is, of course, one of the most attractive ones, and also the new ones, the new business models for the for the 5G industry. So I start my presentation with a quote from 1911 from Professor Georg Schlesinger. So he said the dividends the dividends of the company sit on the cutting edge of the steel, but the speed of these cutting edges is a function of the machines that move them. So with this remark, he actually gave the actual machining process an economical meaning. So that means that the economical performance of a company is directly related to the value creation, which is associated with machines. So this is still valid today, but of course, 100 years of production research later, of course, we have a more elaborate understanding about the challenges and requirements. So still today, companies have to resolve the field of tension from quality versus time versus costs. And furthermore, a challenge is that the demand for today's production is to be flexible, both for mass production, but also for mass customization, which is with smaller quantities, but more variance. Then furthermore, we see more challenges coming from decreased tolerances for more complex products. And this actually drives the manufacturing process to the physical limits, which is also a challenge today. One strategy to overcome these challenges is to establish so-called cognitive self-optimizing processes, which is actually nurtured by process and product monitoring, as well as continuous process optimization, for example, with the help of artificial intelligence. And furthermore, in order to actually facilitate all these steps like process monitoring, we need a lot of data. And in order to acquire the data, you need a greater networking inside your production and the use of data as well. And this is actually where 5G actually contributes a lot. So let's have a look at how 5G may integrate into the production architecture, or as we call it as well, cyber physical production system. So we see this here as an architecture, which we have maybe seen in different representations elsewhere. So we have the physical production happening on the shop floor. So that's not new, of course. So starting from process planning, different process steps at different production machines, and of course also manual work like inspection. And at each step, a certain amount of data is being generated. So all the data are being aggregated in a so-called data layer, where simultaneous to the real part, there's also a virtual part, which is called the digital twin. So then, based on these data, of course, you can integrate a lot of analytics and bring in intelligence, which may be calculated in cloud solutions or on-premise edge cloud solutions. These are just some examples. So what are the requirements in order to actually transmit the data and to connect the physical shop floor with the virtual data layer? So so we call this paradigm actually network adaptive production, because that's actually what you want to achieve. You do not have a network just for the sake of it. You want to create resilience, and that's actually being enabled by creating adaptivity based on the data coming from the network. So first demand is actually universal connectivity. That means that you do not want to have multiple connectivity solutions with multiple interfaces. So this has to be limited to just a few, for example, Ethernet plus 5G. Then furthermore, there is a demand for flexibility, for example, for mobile production, like with AGVs and mobile robots. Then next thing is connectivity has to be reliable. That's of course clear. We need let's say, perfect conditions in every corner of the shop floor, but also inside machines. We need the connectivity in every aspect there. Then furthermore, low latency is of course very important, as we have seen also in the poll. This is basically the most important demand where 5G contributes a lot. It's about the enabling of real-time applications, of course. So with these demands, we actually started the 5G Industry Campus Europe. So the 5G Industry Campus Europe is a private network. So people also say a standalone network, but there is a little bit of a confusion when it comes to the architecture. I come to that later. And it's so far the largest industrial 5G testbed. So it consists of 3 different shop floors, which are fully equipped with machines and robots, which you will see in the video. And furthermore, we have a 5G outdoor network of approximately 1 square kilometer at the campus of the RWTH Aachen. So the network is operated by the Fraunhofer IPT, and it's running on the spectrum, which we have learned, which is able be open to apply for at the national regulator at 3.7 to 3.8 gigahertz. We also have a separate network running at millimeter wave. It's not mentioned here. So the 5G architecture here is that we both run a so-called 5G NSA and 5G SA. So what's the difference between standalone and non-standalone? So first of all, standalone also can mean that it's a private network. So in any case, we run a completely private and isolated network. So there's no mobile network operator involved here. So NSA says that there is a 4G core underlying the network. So that means that the devices connect first to the 4G network, but data are being transmitted via 5G in any case. 5G SA says that there is a 5G core behind it, 5G standalone architecture. And the 4G core network is operated in the spectrum of 2.3 to 2.32 gigahertz. So this infrastructure receives funding from the Federal Ministry of Transport and Digital Infrastructure in Germany, and it's a so-called 5G model region of the German government. So besides the Fraunhofer IPT, there's also the Laboratory for Machine Tools and Production Engineering of the university involved, the WZL, and the FIR, which is also part of the Competence Center 5G NRW. So our network supplier is Ericsson, and they are also doing the operations and maintenance at the same time, and also giving us updates with new features coming up. And furthermore, we are supported by the IT center of the university, who own the fiber network on the campus. So what do we want to actually create with this 5G Industry Campus Europe? So of course, it's an infrastructure which we are using in many of our research projects. Also this North Rhine-Westphalian 5G projects, for example, 5G Commit was mentioned earlier. That's actually located here on this campus. So, but the vision for this campus is actually to be an entity in Europe for the holistic application of 5G to production, which means manufacturing plus logistics. So next thing is that we want to pioneer 5G in order to motivate and establish 5G in industry as well. For that, we carry out, or we operate a lot of use cases. So it's real-world use cases or real problems, and it's pretty application-oriented. So we do not operate this in an empty lab. So as you will see in the video, so there is a lot of machines. So we really look at real manufacturing problems. So as we have multiple sites covered with indoor networks, but also the outdoor network, so we can we can look at single-site related tasks, but also cross-site related tasks. For example, the operation from an AGV with transition from indoor to outdoor and from outdoor to indoor as well. That's one example, but also data platforms. Okay, so here is the video about the project. So some scenes. Some scenes may look familiar because they have been used also for the video of the competence center. So of course, as we know, 5G is attractive because of certain features where the very low latency is the most attractive one. Not so much the high data rates, and the poll actually showed it as well. And now we see actually a bird view perspective of the campus. So this is actually the campus that you have seen also on the photograph, but it's the total area that's being covered by 4 outdoor antennas. So we have 4 outdoor antennas, but 5 sectors that are being covered. And then we have more than 7,000 square meters of indoor networks on different shop floors. And all of them are equipped with multiple production equipments like machine tools, robots, and logistics equipments. So at the front of IPT, we are looking very much on where actually value creation starts, where chips are created. So that's machining. So we look very much on these turbine components because there are perfect examples, because they are very, very challenging to manufacture. And creating the data with the help of 5G enables us to better understand the process. You can see here the overlay of measurement data and the 3D representation on the part. So it's actually something which I will show in another video. Of course, 5G also contributes to quality assurance, like 3D scanning, and where you need high data transmission, but also synchronization. So at the WZL, the focus is on assembly with the help of mobile robots, which is actually a new paradigm. For example, for large parts, you need the robot or the assembly system to configure itself and go to the product, not the opposite. So collaborative robots need a lot of sensors, and that's where 5G is actually building the bridge, because closed loop is happening better or working better than with Wi-Fi. Last scene was actually the autonomous guided vehicle, AGV, which is of course let's say the well-known examples of 5G in production. So of course you are invited to visit us. Also, we offer virtual visits, carrying out live demos via Teams or Zoom. So that's also possible. Okay, so the application areas were a little bit becoming clear from the video. I listed it here. So we are looking at mobile robotics, mostly for assembly, logistics with mostly AGVs, but also with additional sensors in order to protect workers. Then data economy is of course looking a little bit what happens with the data we transmit with 5G, how to exchange them, how to securely save them. Then furthermore, we look at process monitoring. That's actually looking at 5G devices, but also the machine tools at the same time, and fusing actually data streams. Cross-site processing is actually creating data platforms and remote control instances for remote production sites. And then furthermore, of course, a very attractive and very clear example is that we are going into wireless sensors because they can be used mobile. Okay, so I have some very concrete example. So these are the use cases we are looking at, or part of it. So a certain kind of sensors like acoustic emission sensor for the monitoring of tool breakage and tool wear. Then logistics is what we have seen with AGV and transition from indoor to outdoor. Then we developed also a multi-sensor platform which can monitor different physical quantities at the same time, and can be used on the workpiece during machining, but it can also be used for the machine condition monitoring, so just to monitor the machine itself, or it can be used in the infrastructure for infrastructure monitoring. So it's quite flexible, quite a flexible platform. Then furthermore, we look at blockchain operations in order to protect the data and trade data. 5G robotics is what you have seen in the video. It's about the mobile assembly. The 5G cockpit is our connectivity platform in order to exchange data and look at live data even on remote sites. So I will would also like to mention that we integrate edge cloud computation with the help of an on-premise edge cloud, which is completely integrated both with the 5G network but also with the machine network. So this enables us to create sensor data pipelines and closed loop operations. So one example that we established with a Swiss machine tool company, Georg Fischer Machining Solutions, or GF. So we developed a sensor solution for them. It's dedicated for vibration monitoring. So the vibration monitoring is very important when it comes to critical machining. And what you can also do is create digital twins if you are able to connect both the machine and also the wireless sensor and have a data fusion. So the solution looks like this. We have a 5G sensor. The sensor is on the part inside the machine. And then the sensor sends data via the 5G data, 5G infrastructure. And so then we have at the same time an extraction or a monitoring of the real-time positions of the machine axis. If we then synchronize both data, then we have a position resolved vibration map of the workpiece, and we are creating a digital twin live during the machining. So the sensor solution looks approximately like this. So it's a PCB that we developed both with Fraunhofer IPT and the sensor company Mapos. So it can integrate multiple different sensors. And then it transmits measurement signals. And then at the end, we have a digital representation of the sensor data on the workpiece. We can see this here. So there's no audio commenting it. I'm commenting this. This is a 5-axis milling machine. Here, a Lego brick is actually machined. On the right side, we see our sensor boxes. So it's encapsulated. There is a sensing probe with a small wire, and there's a small antenna. So this is a really harsh environment. And here we see what's happening in the background. So on the one side, we receive the sensor data. It's a vibration spectrum. So we receive FFT spectra from the sensor system. And at the same time, there's a digital dashboard that is connected with the machine tool, having the 3D model of the part. And we see the tool paths in real time. So, and in a false color representation, we see the amplitude of the vibration spectrum, which is being left as a trace of the actual process. So here you can see how the digital twin of this process actually created in real time. Okay, so this was the example I brought. So that's one example of many. So if you're interested, then please get in contact with me and I can present even more. I'd like to shortly introduce the International Center for Network Adaptive Production, because we are getting asked a lot of very often how to collaborate in terms of 5G with the 5G Industry Campus Europe. So I always keep saying, so 5G is not the only topic, because 5G is just the connectivity. It's a starting point of a journey. So you have to look at many more topics. So how to actually transmit data via 5G, how to achieve actually the latency that is the promise, 1 millisecond, how to achieve 1 millisecond latency from the sensor to the server. So 5G, of course, has many applications on the overall production system. So that's where we are looking at in this community, network adaptive production. So it's actually about bringing together production companies and so-called enablers. So the enablers are mostly coming from the IT area. So it's about knowledge exchange, partner matching, but it's also about carrying out mutual projects in the member community. So that's why the community consists of multiple partners with different roles. So we have in the middle, we have the manufacturing companies and also the production equipment suppliers. But of course, on the enabler side, we have enablers for IT infrastructure, the application software, user interface, and also data analytics. And furthermore, there's also legal framework that is surrounded with it. For example, who owns data, what is the data protection and the legal aspect of data. Yeah, and of course, standardization is very important there. So by now we have 25 members. So you see who is actually a member of this community. And so our recent new members that joined were, for example, Schaeffler. It's a large automotive supplier, the newest member is actually Toshiba. It's a nice example of how the Tokyo office of NRW.Global Business supports that, because the contact was initiated by Mr. Löhr. And then, yeah, we see that we have shared interest, and Toshiba then recently joined this community. From Japan, we furthermore have Mitsubishi Electric and IHI as well. And then many other companies, for example, Ericsson for the 5G topics. We have GF, Atlas Copco, producer of compressor parts, and so on. Oracle, of course, also very well known. So what we're actually doing is, I call it journey. So it's actually the journey of data in production. So it starts with sensor systems and data acquisition, going via interfaces and connectivity. That's where 5G comes in. Then it's about synchronization and middleware solutions, data modeling, data analytics, and then creating digital twins. And then you also need certain cloud systems and IT architectures. At the end, you may want to monitorize data and digital business models. So that's actually the spectrum of the ICNAP community. So what we are actually carrying out is joint studies. That's the main activity. So they are carried out at a yearly, at an annual basis. The companies decide which studies are selected and carried out, and are invited, of course, to contribute to the studies and jointly work with us. Then furthermore, we have continuous working groups in all the 7 areas shown before. So they are running on a permanent basis, and it's a discussion platform, and also setting roadmap for joint activities and also for the studies. Then furthermore, we carry out a lot of community meetings. Furthermore, we go into joint publicly funded projects where there's a higher risk, where funding is required. For example, the 5G COMET is one example where we joined forces with some of the ICNAP members, for example, Mitsubishi Electric. And then furthermore, there's a lot of trainings and seminars as well, and a few other benefits. So if you're interested in that, then please feel to contact me. One offering that came from the many collaborations with companies we had is that there is a need actually to accompany the industry on their journey to 5G. So it's a multi-step approach where we support companies. It's more or less a consultancy offer. support companies with, for example, teaching them the benefits of 5G, then going into their production, identify relevant processes and 5G use cases, then analyze the potential of the use cases, especially the economical potential may not be forgotten, to also look how 5G actually pays out. And then it's about the implementation strategy and road mapping. And at the end, we can have on-site support in building the use cases. Okay, so what we have hopefully seen is that 5G offers large potential for production already today. And the good news is that industrial 5G campus networks can already be built. So you do not need to wait for new releases or for 6G. So you can already start now. So but nevertheless, the ecosystem is further developed. So there's new features to come for 5G, for example, localization. And one platform for collaboration in 5G is the 5G Industry Campus. So it's our base platform for many activities and research projects. And in the new 5G NRW funding program, Front of IPT was successful in three projects. They are about to start next year. And the ICNAP, the International Center for Network Adaptive Production, is the industry community to jointly exploit 5G and digitization in production. So thank you very much for your patience and your attention. And hopefully we still have time for some questions.
Yes, Mr. König, thank you also very much for this excellent presentation and update on the situation at the 5G Industry Campus Europe with new examples. I think very valuable, very helpful. And as the example you mentioned of Toshiba, I think we do have a good collaboration with you where we can bring interested parties into this network. I mean, we have also discussed things with some Japanese startup companies, and that has also been a very great help. Yeah, Ms. Gong, Mr. König, I'm afraid that my time management again has not been very good, and I don't want to keep you longer than necessary. So if you need to drop out, please don't hesitate. Nonetheless, I would like to, so thank you so much. And I would nonetheless like to open the floor to any questions. If there are any questions out there, please don't be shy, raise your hand and put forward the question through the Q&A function or otherwise. Now, we have still just a wee bit of homework to be done. Please don't run away as yet, because we still have the last poll to go. If you would like to participate, please feel free to do so. Here is the poll with a number of questions. The first question being, what do you think are challenges when introducing 5G to your company? Is it data security, or that you have hardly or automated or no automated processes? What is it? Or the implementation? I think there are a lot of areas where König-san would be able to help you on that. And then, well, as a last question also, are you familiar with funding opportunities for 5G projects in NRW? Well, while you fill out these the poll, let me also move on here, just for the sake of time. We have had some initial preliminary results out of our survey, and the results are still too few to make clear statements, but we can say that none of the companies rates its level of digitalization as very good. The majority thinks its digital infrastructure can be further improved. No surprise there. And 54% still do not use the 4G network, the 5G network, with the main reasons being not having a suitable infrastructure and high costs for converting to 5G. And out of the 3 application scenarios for 5G, high data rates are rated as the most important, while a high device density is viewed as least important. Interesting. The majority perceives data security and selection of suitable in-process data as challenges when employing 5G, while almost 40% do not have any difficulties or concerns. Well, okay, now we will thank you for the poll. We will share the results of the polls and also of the survey with you next week, and look forward to continue the discussion with you here. The results of the poll seem to be relatively in line with what we have shown as preliminary results. Let me just move forward and show you the last slides. If you need to contact us here or want to contact us here in Japan, of course, myself, my colleague Sugizaki, colleagues Kuskis or Ms. Yagihashi are happy to entertain your inquiries and requests. And also for our Japanese colleagues, customers, and audience here. But of course, our colleagues in Düsseldorf, Ms. Astrid Becker, General Manager, and Mr. Wolfgang Janssen, Head of Business Unit Japan, are always at your service and ready to support you when you are when you contact them on the NRW side. So thank you very much for joining us today. Gosecho arigatou gozaimashita. Please do take part in the survey we have sent you. It's maybe still in your email inbox. And today's presentation material will be available on our homepage this week. And also, if you're interested, please join us for the next NRW Global Business Fireplace web talk on the topic of business, technology, and culture, enabling international cooperation on the 30th of July from 4 to 6:30 p.m. Japanese time. And with this, I would like to say goodbye to everyone and thank you for attending our event today, especially to the 2 speakers. Thank you for taking the time and giving us all these important inputs, and hope to see you soon again. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for the great conversation. The pleasure is all
Ms. Gong. Yeah,
See you the next
Mr.
time.
König. See you.